the batas
Opo.
is the General Appropriations Act.
Opo.
You are aware, Attorney Acosta, that the General Appropriations Act is a yearly appropriation.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you know, it's a
Yes,
yearly
Honor.
appropriation. So that by the end of the year, that appropriation lapses either because it is spent or it is unused, especially in a cash budget that we are now following. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. It
All
refers
right.
to budget, but the creation
Let
of
me just
positions
please-
entail budget.
All right. Yeah, that's precisely, you know, allow me to ask the question.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Opo,
please. Okay.
Dati ko po kayong boss, sir.
Ah,
Opo.
sige. That's why, what I'm saying is, can the DBM, through the GAA, create new offices? In effect, that's what you're saying, yes.
By virtue of Republic Act 11260, Your Honor, there's a NOSCA issued by the
No,
DBM.
Can you please answer my question?
Opo.
Ah?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes or no?
Opo, kasi yung dagdag
Opo,
naming lawyer,
okay.
NOSCA lang din po yun
Ang
eh.
tanong ko sa iyo, pag natapos ang General Appropriations Act, as you know, the General Appropriations Act is a yearly allocation.
Opo, sir.
If the appropriation is not repeated the following year, that office is deemed abolished.
If not funded, Your Honor,
Yes,
it
if
will
not
be
funded.
abolished, but the DBM
Alright.
continuously funds
What?
our
What?
positions, Your Honor, the positions created by them.
Who continuously funds it?
The DBM through the MPBF, it's not yet, if it has yet appropriated, Your Honor.
Just answer me. The power to appropriate is with Congress. You're saying that offices can be created by appropriation. So that this year, for example, so that you're saying that the DBM has created under that position or under the General Appropriations Act. It is accepted that the General Appropriations Act is a yearly appropriation. And if we do not renew or we do not enact a new appropriations, or if we delete that allocation in the new appropriations, that office, since it was created only under the budget, will have to be abolished.
Precisely, if there's no budget, Your Honor, but does
No,
not
no, if there is
happen.
no more budget.
Hindi po nangyari sa akin
No, no,
labing siyam na
talagang
taon.
theoretical lang.
Nag-create sila, tapos hindi po
Legal
nababudgetan.
proposition lang. Legal proposition.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Since it is an annual appropriation act, that means if in the next appropriation there is no allocation of public funds for that particular position, which you said is validly created under the General Appropriations Act, there is no more office.
Kaya po ng COSLAP, hindi na po binadgetan, abolish.
Abolish gaya ng
Opo,
COSLA.
COSLAP po yan, pero may law po yun.
Okay. COSLAP was even an office created under the law. There is an enabling law. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor, because
And yet-
it's an agency.
Yet, when the budget was denied, it was abolished as an office.
What is COSLAP? Sorry.
COSLAP is the Commission on Settlements of Land.
Land registrations and problems, Your Honor.
yes.
And
COSLAP.
what is the NOSCA? Is that NOSCA? Ano
No,
yung sinabi?
NOSCA, Your Honor,
What is
is
NOSCA?
notice of the DBM of organization,
No, what is the
stopping,
other office? Okay.
and
alright.
compensation
Okay.
action. May
Alright.
NOSCA pong binibigay.
It's
attached
okay,
to the
it's okay, ma'am.
letter
Very
of
simple,
I got it, yeah.
simple
It's all right.
question.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah.
Simple question. If you are asserting that an office can be created simply by an appropriation in the General Appropriations Act, necessarily you will accept the proposition that that same office is abolished when there is no longer any appropriation.
That will not be funded, Your Honor. If
I'm sorry?
walang sweldo, that will be not funded anymore.
So the office can be abolished.
Yes, Your Honor. It's being done by the government with respect to
Just
non-performing
please answer me.
offices.
Ikaw naman, tinatanong lang.
Oh, that's a yes, ma'am. Yes, yes po yung sagot niya.
Yes po, sir.
Okay, okay.
Ha?
Opo, sir.
Opo,
Kasi
opo.
nag-abolish lang po pag hindi
Alright,
nagpe-perform.
sige, alright. Now, I'll go to some specific issue. Your forensic laboratory
Yes, Your Honor.
and the 8 plantilla positions, is that created under the General Appropriations Act?
Yes, Your Honor, for 2019.
For 2019.
Republic Act, 21.
It was created in 2019 under the General Appropriations Act.
Opo, Republic Act 11260.
Now, in fact, that was included in the budget in, if not mistaken, January 14, 2019. Is that correct?
And it is, I think, I know it will be charged to the MPBF, Your Honor.
Yeah, can you please answer me? When was it funded? January 14, 2019.
There is a notice of organization stopping compensation or action or NOSCA with specifics regarding the salary and the
That was
pera,
when? January.
rata. Opo.
Alam mo, tatagal tayo rito. Questions are very simple. That was created on January 14, 2019.
Opo, sir.
Yan.
Ito po.
Sige. Now, on January 14, 2019, there was no General Appropriations Act.
The General Appropriations Act is for 2019. That is Republic Act 11,
No, my dear.
11260, Your Honor,
my-
for
my
the year
dear-
2019.
My dear Secretary, my dear Attorney Acosta, on January 14, 2019, when the forensics laboratory was created, there was no General Appropriations Act yet because of the delay in designing. Is that correct?
Yes, but there is,
Yes, what?
but it is the law, Your Honor,
That is the
applicable.
What is the law applicable?
Simple lang ho, simple lang ho.
Your Honor,
Na medyo ayoko rin tumagal masyado rito dahil gabi ho eh.
Even
hindi
prior po,
ma'am,
sir.
Ma'am,
Opo.
can you listen muna? The chair will interrupt already when the responses are not, when the answers are not responsive ho. Yung tanong ho, yung point ho ni Senator Drilon is, on January 14, 2019, hindi pa ho pasado yung national budget. I think that's something we can all take judicial notice or legislative notice of because it's a fact, no? We all know it was all in the newspaper. So, what is your next question, Senator Drilon? Yeah.
You cannot talk of any law at that point because the General Appropriations Act has not been passed. In fact, we were working on a reenacted budget under the Constitution.
Correct.
So-
You can proceed with your questioning. I think that's, we can establish that.
I understand now your point,
yeah.
sir. Opo.
Yes.
Yes, wala pa hong
Yeah,
budget nun. Wala pa
lahat
hong
po
budget.
nakakaintindi na, ikaw na lang ang hindi.
Hindi, sir, kasi ano,
Sige.
sir,
Yes.
even prior to the General Appropriations Act for 2019, in the prior Republic Acts concerning the JA, the DBM has been authorized and the President to create positions. In fact, in some departments, priorly, there are only 2 or 3 USECs or ASECs, but the President can create positions, Your Honor, even though in the EO 292 and in subsequent enabling laws, wala po silang bilang lamang ng USEC ASECs. Dito po sa amin, ang ginawa po ay isang division na under the office created by Republic Act 9406, the Office of the Chief Public Attorney, sir. Yun po yun.
The
Sa Paulo
office-
po, sir, sa Paulo po, meron po kaming creation of positions, complementary staff positions, nung po sa Republic Act 9406. Kaya po pati lawyers and staff, meron pong continuing creation.
Now,
Yung po kasama
was
po
there-
kayo
is there
doon. Salamat po
anything-
sa law namin, sir.
Is there anything in all the laws, either under the GAA or whatever law that you can cite, which authorizes the creation of a forensics laboratory division?
Your Honor,
Is there a substantive law? Can you answer yes or no?
no wordings as forensic laboratory division, but stopping pattern, Your Honor, has been stated as Section 7 of Republic Act 9406 or PAULO, and I will quote, Section 7, ratio of public attorney position to an organized sala. There shall be a corresponding number of public attorneys position at the ratio of 1 public attorney to an organized sala and the corresponding administrative and support staff thereof. The Power Forensic Laboratory Division is created by the DBM to be under the Office of the Chief Public Attorney, is being utilized by the office in case build up, Your Honor, especially when the Secretary of Justice orders us to help victims of cases of national interest, like the case of Dembaxia, wherein Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre specifically ordered this representation to lead the filing of cases, whether criminal, administrative, or civil cases. And even prior to this, Your Honor.
Please. Abutan tayo dito ng curfew pag don't get excited. The issue is whether or not a forensic laboratory division is authorized under any law, not even the General Appropriations Act. I examined your laws, and there is none that authorizes the creation of that. At most, you are talking about plantilla positions. Is that correct? In fact, your basic, your charter authorizes only 6 divisions.
Your Honor, later in the implementing rules was state changed into service because POW has been strengthened and widened, Your Honor. Unlike before, we have just divisions, but now the executive division has been converted through the IRR as service, Your Honor. And in the GAA 2018, for 2018, it is stated that Section 84, organizational structure and staffing pattern changes. Notwithstanding any provision of law to the contrary, and within the limits of the appropriations authorized in this Act, the President of the Philippines is authorized to create new offices and modify the existing organizational structure of the agencies in the executive branch, as well as create new positions or modify existing ones whenever public interest so requires.
That is the power of the President.
Ito po, the DBM may approve.
Sige, tuloy mo.
The DBM may approve minor changes in the organizational structures and staffing pattern of the agencies and create positions up to a division chief and equivalent level under the executive branch. Ito po yung December 29.
And in accordance with law.
Pa?
There's a portion there in the same sentence. Ituloy mo.
In cases when Congress creates or reorganize, sa Congress na po ito, pag sila nag-reorganize, the DBM is authorized to determine its organizational structure. Yes. Ito po yung GAA for 2018.
Okay. I think the issues are joined, and I think we know the position of Attorney Acosta. We have certain legal precepts that are established in jurisprudence, among the most important of which is that a position, a public office, can only be created by law. And that law does not refer, or if you're going to say the law is the General Appropriations Act, fine. Because at the end of the day, if that is your theory, the moment we do not provide a budget for the under the General Appropriations Act for that office, then that office is abolished. Is that correct?
Tama po kayo,
Tama
sir.
ba? Okay,
may budget po, binigyan ng DBM.
Okay. Now, isn't that, that position of yours sets a very dangerous precedent. Why? I'll tell you. Do not shrug your shoulder. I'll tell you why. Senator Angara, Senator Tolentino, Senator De La Rosa, can insert provisions or can make amendments or what we call congressional insertions, alignments, and create an office which will now oblige the executive branch to fund that every year, because that office will continue to exist. In fact, Attorney Acosta, if you ask the DBM, they will not allow congressional alignments to create an office, because to do so would oblige the Department of Budget to fund that every year, and they're not prepared to do that.
In our case, Your Honor,
Because
there is no office created, but a plantilla position and named as a division under the office of the Chief POW, Your Honor. The wordings of Secretary Ben Jokno is very clear, Your Honor. Ito po, sir. Chief Public Attorney Persida Acosta, quote and quote, Dear Chief Acosta, we are pleased to inform you of the creation of a forensic laboratory division in the PAO, which be lodged under the office of the Chief Public Attorney,
Yes.
to be primarily responsible for undertaking medical, legal, and forensic-related functions and activities of the agency. Hindi po officer yung forensic lab division.
Madam,
Ito po ay-
Madam Acosta,
Ang office po yung office ko po,
Yes.
sir.
the DBM is not the law. All right? The DBM can express an opinion, but he is not the law. Because the law, because the creation of an office through the budget is not something that is not acceptable in law, because you need a substantive law, not a General Appropriations Act. Anyway, let us leave the topic behind us now. How long has the forensics laboratory been in operation?
Sir?
How long have your forensics lab been in operation?
Formally, Your Honor, it's just a working room. In
Okay.
2004, wherein Secretary Bongkodin authorized the PAO to hire a forensic consultant in our medical...
Consultant.
Yes, Your
A
Honor.
consultant, not an employee.
No, he's not
A
our employee. sir.
consultant
Opo.
is sourced from the MOOE as a consultant, not as an employee. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor, consultant po siya.
So it was not an authority to create a plantilla position or an office, because that is under the MOOE.
Wala pong division na nakikreate nun, sir. From
Sige.
2004 to January 14, 2019, wala pong division na kinirate ang DBM. Ano lang po yun, meron lang
Kailan
kami
nila
room.
create yung division?
Nito lang pong pirmado po ni Kuya Ben, ni Secretary Ben Jokno, DBM Secretary.
They
Ito po.
created that division in
Under the
January.
office of the Chief Public Attorney
Yes, on January 2019.
po.
And-
At may mga doktor na pong plantilla po siya.
All right, there is a difference of opinion between us. In our view, the DBM secretary is not God. He cannot create an office. Only the law can create an office, and that is in accordance with the decisions of the Supreme Court, that a public office is either created by the Constitution or statute or by authority of law. And the law here is not the General Appropriations Act. It is a substantive law, because as you have accepted, if it is the General Appropriations Act, the position is clear that by the end of that year, we can have that position abolished by not allowing any appropriation.
Sir, hindi nga po office yung kinirate.
Ano yun?
Ang office po, existing na sa Paulo, Office of the Chief Public Attorney. Tapos doon lang po inattach yung 8 plantilla positions ng 4 na doktor, isang dentist, isang
Okay,
nurse,
sige.
isang medtech.
Anyway.
Sir,
Anyway,
yung
as I
pong
said-
word na office po kasi,
Alright.
sir eh.
Okay,
Pasensya
now,
na po, sir. Pero
talking
yung,
about the forensics laboratory, hindi po ba may forensic laboratory din ang NBI at saka PNP?
meron po. Pero may mga kaso po, gaya ni Secretary Aguirre, kami pong inutusan doon sa pagtulong doon sa pag-imbestiga sa mga patay, illnesses, and injured. Sa NBI po niya inassign yung pera, yung 3.5 billion worth of them back sa procurement. Kaya sila po yung nag-file sa ombudsman. Ito po yung order sa NBI. Ito naman po yung order sa PAO. Dalawa po ito, twin decision. Sinati po niya.
Oo, pakisagot lang po, hindi ba yung NBI may sarili ding forensics laboratory?
Opo, araw-araw po, yun po ang day-to-day
Teka,
nila.
Oo lang o hindi?
Opo,
Meron
pero
po
madalas po,
mayroon.
prosecution
Why
po ang
could you
gumagamit
not-
sa kanila.
Why could you not have availed of the forensic laboratory of the NBI or the PNP?
In the Dembaksa cases, sir.
In all cases.
Sir, nung araw kahit sa Sulpicio po sa MB Princess, nag-ausap
Ano?
tayo. Yung mga lumubog na barko
Just
po,
answer my question. Why could you not have availed of the forensics laboratory of the NBI and the PNP?
Sir, there's a special order to this representation by the Secretary of Justice.
That?
The Secretary of Justice, knowing that we have a forensic consultant, Your Honor.
Yes.
Inutusan po kami ni Secretary Aguirre on December 12,
To
2017.
provide legal services.
Yes, but forensic services is necessarily included, especially in the cases of the victims in the case build-up. We cannot file a
Yes.
case like this, Your Honor, without forensic autopsy result, Your Honor.
Okay. And the forensic autopsy could have been done by the NBI or the PNP.
Pwede po sila, dahil may mga
Pwede.
cases pong tie-up kami. Marami po kaming kaso na
marami. So,
nagtatie. Hindi po, sa case pong ito, ay doon na sa amin na po inassign ni Secretary Aguirre dahil ang NBI po, araw-araw ang mga medical legal officer nag-o-autopsy po, kanya-kanya sila ng duty.
so wala na silang panahon para sa inyo.
Ay, hindi naman sa ganun. Meron po kaming forensic doctors, tsaka volunteers,
Kaya
sir.
nga, you had to put up your own forensic laboratory and not avail of NBI or PNP because of for your own reasons.
No, not for my own reason. Because of the order of the Secretary of Justice, sir.
The
I
Secretary
cannot
of Justice,
divulge all
the Secretary of Justice Attorney Acosta required you to provide legal services, and the legal services could have been performed without creating a forensic laboratory.
Sir?
No.
Sir,
The directive
Next.
to you is to provide legal services. The legal services could have been rendered, and that is no justification for the creation of a forensic laboratory, because forensic work is done efficiently by the NBI and by the Philippine National Police.
since 2004, Your Honor, Secretary Bongko din authorized us to utilize our forensic consultant. And si Dr. RP po, siya po ang 2004, 15 years ago pa.
So he's
And
a
Secretary of
consultant.
Justice Vitaliano Aguirre is well-versed and he knows na meron po kaming forensic services dahil may Victims Assistance Unit po kami in consonance with Republic Act 9745 or the Anti-Torture Act na doon po mandatorily Section 9 and 11, PAO po ay binigyan ng kapangyarihang mag-imbestiga side by side. Pwede rin ang CHR, NBI, DOJ, PNP, AFP. Binigyan po kami ng kapangyarihang mag-imbestiga noong Republic Act 9745 or the Anti-Torture Act. Kaya po ito po yung naging pagbabago sa PAO. 2010, after 2009 Republic Act na Anti-Torture Act, si Secretary de Banadera po, ang siya nagpunta sa amin para i-enhance po yung forensic laboratory room po namin. Room lang po yun.
So, room, hindi laboratory.
Yung laboratory,
Room lang.
nandun po sa room. Pero ang tao lang po doon, yung pumupunta-punta yung forensic consultant po. Ngayon lang po kami nagkaroon ng plantilla nitong January
Correct.
2019.
And the plantilla, in my view, is not authorized because the office or the forensics laboratory division is not authorized by your own charter, and you cannot create a public office through the General Appropriations Act. But if that is your theory, well and good, because then the power to abolish on the part of Congress can be exercised by withholding the appropriation to that office.
Ay, tama
Is that-
po.
yeah,
Tama
po
po
yan.
kayo, sir.
Oh,
Pero,
okay.
pero
Tama na, okay.
ang punto doon ay nandyan na ho yan. Inauthorize po ng DBM. The President through the DBM. Igagalang ko po ang desisyon ng Pangulo at ng DBM.
Opo, pero ang Kongreso po ang may kapangyarihan to appropriate, hindi po yung Pangulo. Yun po sa ating sistema.
Tama rin po kayo,
So,
sir.
kaya nga, that is a legal principle that you must accept. Now, you said, how was the equipment in the forensic laboratory acquired? Did you have a capital outlay?
Noong pong 2010.
No?
2010 po. Year
2010,
2010, opo.
you had a capital
Akin na
outlay.
yun, Opo.
How much, and was this supplemented afterwards?
Yung, akin na yung sa 2010. Sa GAA for 2010 po, meron po kaming capital outlay. I'm very sure of that, Your Honor.
Capital outlay for a forensic laboratory?
Not specifically, because our funds are, say, common fund, Your Honor.
Of course, but when you submit a capital outlay budget to the DBM, ini-specify po doon kung ano yung capital outlay. Building ba?
That's
Auto
for
ba?
equipments, Your Honor.
Ha?
Equipments, for equipments.
Equipment, what was it equipment, a transportation equipment, or a car is an equipment? Was there a specific allocation for a forensic laboratory in 2010 as a capital outlay?
Sandali lang po, sir.
Sige.
Balik tayo ng 9 years, sir. Eh.
Okay.
May papel po dito.
Maybe we can proceed with the next questions
Yes.
while they're
Boss.
while the staff of
We're
Chief
looking for the
Acosta
2010 GAA, sir.
are looking for the 2010 GAA.
And while you are looking at that, you might as well submit to
Yes,
the
sir.
committee
Opo, sir.
every year saan yung kinukuha yung pondo para sa inyong forensic laboratory since 1910. Okay?
2010, sir?
2010, I'm sorry. Since
As-
2010.
sir-
Just submit it
Opo, sir.
as ordered by the
Opo.
chairman para
Opo,
hindi tayo
para
tumagal.
mabilis.
I-submit mo na lang in writing. Kasi ang problema dito, you want to be the NBI by putting up your own forensics laboratory. Doktor ka na nga, pulis ka pa.
Hindi po kami nagpupulis, sir. Hindi kami nang-aaresto, sir.
Okay, sige.
Hindi rin po kami nagpapile sa court ng kaso. Prosecutors po.
Okay, sige. Well, may I ask this from Secretary Guevara? Have you directed PAO to continue providing legal services, legal assistance and services to the Dingbaksha victims? Huh?
Senator, they have been doing that even without
To the
instruction
so-called
from me.
Dingbaksha victims?
They have been doing so without any continuing instruction from me. They have begun it and continue to do it.
They have begun it and continue to do it without asking you whether they should continue. They just assume that they have the power.
They just continue. I don't know
Yes,
what they assume.
Yeah, all right. Now, so, since you have your own forensic laboratory, the possibility of a conclusion from your forensic laboratory completely opposite or in conflict with that of the NBI or the PNP is possible. Yes.
Sir, during the hearing here, the case of Kian,
Yes.
yes, sir,
Yes.
there was a conflict because the PAO forensic doctors and its volunteers found out that there was 3 gunshot wounds.
Yes.
But the NBI says, and they said only 2 at the head, at the whole of the ear and at the back. But the PAO forensic doctors and even the then Vice President Binay was able to see
Okay.
the wound at the back of Kian.
Whose forensic examination was that? The PNP?
Yung dalawa lang, sir, PMP po.
PNP. I'm asking about the NBI. Could you have referred Kian to the Kian Del Santos for autopsy to the NBI?
At that time, sir, we were asked by the parents to help them and to ask our volunteers, doctors, to conduct the autopsy.
Why?
They know publicly, Your
Can it
Honor.
not have been done by the NBI? What I'm just pointing out to you is that your forensics laboratory is a duplication of the work of the NBI, a duplication of the work of the PNP, and your forensics laboratory has been created not by virtue of any law, but by virtue of the General Appropriations Act.
Sir, as a system of check and balance, sir, when the parents was very disappointed because they know that Kian has a wound at his back, and yet at the death certificate, only 2 gunshot wounds at the head was indicated, they asked ABS-CBN reporters to ask us to send our forensic doctors and our volunteers to conduct a re-autopsy, Your Honor. There is no conflict because when the doctors of power were there, the NBI was sent by the NBI director to conduct crime scene reconstruction. So while the forensic doctors of PAO was doing the autopsy, yung mga NBI agents po nagka-crime scene
Oo, pero
reconstruction.
pwede rin gawin ng NBI ang autopsy.
Pwede po, pero on the request po yung forensic ng PAO,
Now,
hindi po
regardless
sila.
of the request of any private party, we as public officials know that we have public offices who are performing these functions, investigative functions, which is principally the NBI, and in the Department of Justice, because I am not sure that your mandates include investigative work.
Well,
Is there you investigate like the police and the NBI?
in cases of torture, we are mandated, Your Honor,
Okay.
to investigate. It is
Torture.
explicit under Republic
Okay.
Act 9745, word per word, Your Honor.
Oh, wait,
It is stated, Your Honor, that PAO is...
Wait.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor.
Can we'll take a 2-minute break in the committee. I think it's called for by the we need a cooling down period, and we'll allow it's a health break to allow the secretary.
This witness,
yeah.
we're asking questions. Kung ano-ano mga saan tayo dinadala.
We'll ask the chief to keep her answer short, please, and responsive para matapos tayo ng maaga.
Okay, sige.
Yeah.
I'll just-
Let's suspend the hearing for 2 minutes and then let's start again. Thank you.
Can we resume, Mr. Chairman? Yes.
I think he just went to the CR,
Okay.
Senator Frank.
Yes, Mr. Chair, may we resume?
We call the meeting to order again. May we request Chief Acosta to wait until the senator asking the question is finished, and then she can respond. Yeah, thank you.
Submit it to the
I
discretion of the
apologize,
chair.
Attorney
Thank you, sir.
Acosta, for having raised my voice. I was just a little agitated that I am talking and I'm the one asking the question, and sinasabayan mo ng salita, hindi ko natuloy maintindihan kung ano yung tinatanong ko. Pasensya na po kayo at medyo tidaasan ko kayo ng boses, but there is no intention to insult you or anything. It was just out of exasperation. But anyway, having already said that, what concerns this representation is that with two government agencies mandated to do investigative work, having crime laboratories, including autopsies, authorized by law, could be confronted with a situation where another government agency, also funded by law, will present a different finding. Remember, both of these are government agencies, and you are also a government agency. But your mandate is to provide legal services, which you have expanded to include a laboratory, forensic laboratory. Can you justify your existence on the basis of what clearly in my mind is a duplication?
Your Honor, the Anti-Torture Act of 2009, entitled An Act Penalizing Torture and Other Cruel, Inhuman, and Degrading Treatment or Punishment and Prescribing Penalties, therefore, this is Republic Act 9745, states, Section 9, Institutional Protection of Torture Victims and Other Persons Involved. A victim of torture shall have the following rights in the institution of a criminal complaint for torture. A, to have a prompt and an impartial investigation by the CHR and by the agencies of the government concerned, such as the Department of Justice, the Public Attorney's Office, PAO, the PNP, the National Bureau of Investigation, NBI, and the AFP. A prompt investigation shall mean a maximum period of 60 working days from the time a complaint for torture is filed, within which an investigation report and all resolutions are be completed and made available. Nandito po yun, ito po ang naging dahilan kung bakit si Secretary Agnes de Banadera noong January 2010, siya po mismo nag-inaugurate nung room namin na kung saan ito po magtatrabaho yung forensic consultant at ang mga volunteer external expert po na hindi naman natin binabayaran. Mga volunteer po from UP. So yung PAO po, kasi yung sinampa po naming kaso kay Kian, kay Carl Arnaiz at kay Kulot, may torture case po kami sinampa doon. Nasampa po yung kay Arnaiz at kay Kulot. Dito po sa Dembaxia, may pinal din po kaming torture case sa National Prosecution Service sa DOJ. Under preliminary investigation pa po yung 45 separate criminal cases na sampahan po up to the level of Secretary of Health. Gandun lang po kasi doktor po yung Secretary of Health. Ito po yung LOSER na nagpapatotoo na may investigative power po ang PAO. Pasensya po sir, alam mo sir, marami na akong trabaho. Nung PAO lawyer po ako nun sir, kayo po ang boss kong Secretary of Justice at talagang kayo po ay suportado namin, talaga ng buong PAO. So ang punto doon, marami na po kaming trabaho. Kung pwede nga lamang, kung gusto nyo pong tanggalin sa amin ito, i-repeal ito, malaya po kayo ang Kongreso para mabawasan na po yung 13 million client namin as of December 31, 2018.
Sige.
Napakarami na po sir, kanina nag-turnover pa kami ng skeletal remains nung asawa na hindi nakilala dahil yung suportolero, pinagsama-sama yung mga bangkay.
Pwede ba ako
Opo,
magtanong?
kayo naman sir, sinagot ko lang po yung
Ako
tanong.
naman. Is the NBI, in your view, capable of an impartial investigation?
Sir, lahat po dito sa law. Pwede po. Nandito po sa law yun eh.
Does
Opo.
the law on torture exclude the NBI from conducting the investigation? No. No.
The PAO is included po.
All right, PAO is included, but it does not exclude the NBI from doing what is their mandate, that is investigate crimes. Is that
So,
correct?
si Kulot nga po sila ang nag-autopsy. Si
Correct.
Karnais kami po. Pero
Okay,
sa isang
okay.
case po yun.
That's I'm just trying to prove the point that your forensic laboratory is actually a duplication of what the NBI and the PNP are doing. That's all. You may agree or disagree with that, but that's the view that I believe is a reasonable view. Yes. The media accounts and the Department of Health has stated publicly that there was a very perceptible and clear loss of confidence in the vaccination process? In the vaccine program of the Department of Health. Do you recall those statements? Just the statement. Whether or not it's true is another matter. But those statements were made.
Yes, sir. They're saying that.
They're saying that.
Yes, they're
now.
saying that, Your Honor.
They're saying that. There were, in fact, 271,480 cases of dengue as of 31 August 2019, which resulted in 1,107 deaths.
Yan po sinasabi nila.
I'm sorry?
Yan po sinasabi ng DOA, ni
Okay,
Secretary
yeah.
Duque.
Yeah, and that's what he said. And he attributes this to the loss of confidence in the vaccination process or program of the Department of Health. That's what he says. Now, likewise, there were 477 deaths out of 34,950 cases of measles, as a result of the lack of the loss of confidence in the immunization process of the Department of Health. Do you recall that?
Yan din po sinasabi ni Secretary
Yan.
Duque.
And in fact, recently, for the first time, polio is back in the country again because of the loss of confidence in the process of immunization.
Sir, polio na sinasabi sa Lanao, 3 years old, na mag-press con po ang Sanofi na hindi pwede sa seronegatives ang Dembaxia, November 29, 2017. Ang PAO nag-start lang po na magkaso February 2018. Dapat po yung batang yan, nabakunahan niya, na polio yan, oral polio, nung 2-month-old pa siya. That is early 2016. Wala pa pong pagkilos ang DOJ para utusan pong NBI at PAO. Dahil, kaya po nag-Senate Blue Ribbon hearing kayo dito, ni Senator Gordon, but ano na yun, first week of December 2017. Kaya po walang kaugnayan po yung outbreak na yan
I'm
dyan.
sorry.
Pati
Okay.
po yung 5 taon, sir, dapat 2015 po yun na polio. Wala pa po sa eksena ang DOJ at NBI at PAO sa Dembaxia.
So it's only on measles and in dengue where, according to the Secretary of Health, there was the result of the low vaccination or the failure to immunize a great percentage of those who were supposed to be immunized. That's according to the Department of Health.
Sir, ito po yung COA report for 2017. Under distribution po noong pang 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017 ang mga bakuna. 12 po ito. Kasama po ang measles, polio. Yung pong polio, negative 92% ang distribution nila.
Oo.
Yung pong measles, sir, negative 91%.
So nagsisinungaling po ang Department of Health.
Hindi ko po alam saan la kinukuha yung sinasabi ni Secretary Duque dahil ang liwanag po ng COA report, sir.
Sige, okay.
Ito po under distribution, napaka-unfair, kada may magkakasakit ako po sinisisi nila. Hindi naman po ako ang
hindi ka-
nag-Senate Blue Ribbon nung kayo po yun, yung December 2017. Yung Senate po, Senate Blue
Ano
Ribbon.
ang ginawa
Ano
ko?
sinasabi niyo si Senator Gordon na may kasalanan?
Hindi yun naman. Wala po akong at saka ang tagal ko na hindi nagsasalita sa mga bakuna. Ang tagal na hanggang Dembaxia, dead victim, 53rd lang kinover ng media. Nung hanggang 146 na po, kamamaya. Kanina, meron na naman po pumunta sa office, namatay na naman yung anak nila. Nagka-severe dengue, kahit 3 shots of Dembaxia. Ayun, pinapahukay po yung kanilang anak. So anong gagawin ko, sir? Tatanggihan ko, may department order po sa akin. Sumusunod
Hindi
na.
tatanggihan, i-refer mo sa NBI.
Sir,
That's what I'm saying.
i-refer ko po, naka 146 na po yung PAW doctors natin ng na-autopsy sa Dembaxia. 146 na, sir.
Kaya nga, yun ang
Invite ko rin po
sinasabi.
kayo, sir, na umattend sa autopsy para
Anyway,
makita nyo, sir.
Sige, I think we have discussed that point long enough.
Dati ko po kayong boss, sir, kaya ginagalang ko po kayo at naniniwala po ako sa inyo.
Tama, salamat. At nandito tayo upang alagaan ang pera ng bayan at aking nakikita na itong pera ng bayan ay nalulustay sa isang activity na pwede namang gampanan ng NBI at saka ng PNP. That is my view. You may disagree with that, but let's leave it at that. Have you also filed civil cases against those who you believe are responsible for the Dembaxia fiasco?
Meron pong corresponding independent civil actions. Yung 45 cases na pinail po namin ng PAW dahil gusto po ng mga magulang, independent civil actions, ito po.
Okay.
39 na po yung 6, ginagawa pa po na special panel of PAW lawyers.
Alright.
Opo. Hindi po kasama si Pinoy dito. Hanggang Secretary of Health lang, sir.
Okay. Hindi ko naman sinasabi, isama mo kung gusto, kung mayroon kang ebidensya.
Nasabi ko lang po, sir, dahil
ako rin, sige.
naging
Ngayon,
Pangulo po natin
huwag mo
Ako-
haluan ng politika.
Hindi po, wala akong politika kasi sinasabi.
Oo nga yan. Mayroon bang filing fees ito?
Kasi po, mahihirap po lahat. Yung pong maybe po sila, kinwalify po namin. Nasa Paulo po, sir. Exempted sa docket fees.
Ang tanong,
Wala po,
Chief, is
wala.
meron bang filing fees?
Wala po dahil nasa loob po
Okay.
natin.
Sige, so sabihin mo lang na walang filing fees, period. Para gusto ko lang malaman.
So walang required filing fees ho sa korte?
Kasi nasa Paulo po, the PAW clients or indigents are exempted from filing fees and other court expenses.
Pasensya ka natin, hindi namin alam yung ganong klaseng
Hindi.
provision. So, mabuti linungwalagan natin na walang filing fees.
Opo, sir.
Sige. Okay. So anyway, I think the issues are joined. It is my view, Mr. Chairman, that the forensics laboratory is a clear duplication of the functions of the NBI and the police, who have not been shown to be inefficient and incompetent, and therefore and are the primary investigative arm of the government. The fact that there is a forensic laboratory exposes us to situations where there could be conflicting findings from 2 government offices. And therefore, Mr. Chair, at the appropriate time, I will move that the forensics laboratory of the PAW office not be funded and the same be transferred to the NBI, which is also an agency of the Department of Justice, so that they can perform the services that the office of the chief public attorney is saying in effect they cannot perform. So that is my submission, Mr. Chair, and I think at this point I can terminate my questions.
Thank you. Minority Leader Drilon. Matanong lang kay Chief Acosta, magkano naman nagastos nyo dyan sa forensic lab ninyo?
Ay, yung mga tao wala naman no additional expense kasi plantilla.
Yeah, they are
lang.
plantilla.
Opo,
oo.
yung
Pero
principles
yung,
of
you
that-
said you have equipment, tama ba?
Meron
mga-
po nung 2010 po.
Magkano hong nagastos doon?
Isasubmit ko po sa inyo, hindi ko
so
po
wala
dala,
kayong
sir.
figures.
Opo.
oo. But after 2010, wala na kayong binili ho?
Wala po, pero ngayon po may pondo po ang DBM for 2020. Kasi nga po, meron po mas...
Dito sa tinitingnan
Opo, kasi
nating
may
budget.
sitwasyon po, pag yung prosecution po ay hiwalay sa amin at kami sa accused, kailangan din po ng equal voice between the defense and the prosecution. Pag sa accused po kami, definitely we cannot top the MBI pag sa depensa kami. Dahil ang MBI po sa kanila, sa prosecution. Halimbawa po, may defense po kami ang accused na hindi siya ang gumawa ng krimen and forensically we can prove it, hindi po namin magagamit ang NBI. Yung po ang sitwasyon kaya sinikap ng pamahalaan kahit sa panahon pa ni Pangulong Pinoy na palakasin po ang forensic namin.
Just on that point, you have maintenance and operating expenses, is that correct?
Opo, sir.
And you could use that to do autopsy work if such autopsy work is needed by your client, so that it is a defense of your client, which is the accused, and not a government finding which will conflict with that of the other of the investigative with the findings of another government agency. Isn't that the more appropriate procedure?
Meaning, Your Honor, to hire a private
Yes,
firm
because they
to...
have MOE.
Sir, it's a matter of trust and confidence and control and supervision of the Chief Public Attorney who is empowered by our law, Republic Act 9406, that the authority is vested, the responsibility in the exercise of the mandate of POW shall be vested upon the Chief Public Attorney. So yung po sir, ang hirap po pag mag-hire ng private, baka po hindi lalong magtiwala ang tao. In case of conflict between NBI and POW Forensics, ang court po naman ang magdi-decide. Hindi po ang Chief POW.
The findings of a crime laboratory, including an autopsy, is supposed to be impartial. Hindi po pwede yung partisan dyan. That is why having your autopsy performed by a professional, and this is done everywhere. You engage the services of a professional autopsy personnel to do the autopsy, just like handwriting experts. You hire, because the NBI or the PNP would have their own handwriting expert. As a defense, you secure, you hire also your own experts. And the same with autopsy, hindi po, this is rocket science. My position is your agency's forensics laboratory is not only unauthorized creation, but also is fraught with dangers. And anyway, I think we have discussed this enough, Mr. Chair, and we have stated our position.
Thank you. Magkano ang nakabudget dun sa forensic lab ninyo for 2020?
Meron po kaming 19.5.
That's in the form of...
Yung pong tool marks, comparison microscope, alternative light source
So
imaging
it's
tool.
part capital outlay and part MOE.
Opo, portable x-ray. Kasi po,
Okay.
gaya nung naghuhukay po kami ng patay sa mga field, kailangan pong i-x-ray para hindi na iuwi sa lab yung mga bangkay. Yung kailangan ilibing na dahil decomposed na. Yun po yun, sir.
Sige, could you just submit the details to us, Chief?
Opo,
please?
sir, nasa
Opo.
NEP po ito. Sasabit po namin yung
Okay,
breakdown.
thank you. At saka yung justification, why is there, ba't
Po,
nyo hiningi yun?
Meron po, sir.
Thank you, para at least we can, it
Opo.
will help us make a good decision.
Opo, sir.
So, if there are no other questions from the minority leader, then I think we can suspend the hearing.